What's up? It's your girl Savage Flower.
Live for you, these no machine. You're now tuned in to the Rock the Block show.
Only on How Do You Meet Radio Soul Flow.
Reese, Fletcher, Dro, Menace, unreleased crack. You already know how Rock the Block doing. Your girl Savage Flower always get the unreleased crack. You feel me?
Yes.
Oh, take us away.
About to get into it. Got a very special guest in the building today. Community leader, community activist, professional lawyer by trade. Man, if I'm missing anything, awesome human being. Man, that I looked up to myself coming up in the community. Mr. Patrick Range Jr. Patrick Range Jr. in the building. Appreciate you being here, man. We got tons of questions, bunch of questions. It's a very important, very serious matter taking place in our community, the community of Miami, Black Miami, but not only Black Miami, just Miami in itself. And it leaves a lot of questions up in the air, and I think that's why you're here today, to help us gain clarity on a lot of these missing pieces in this situation right now. Well, about 2 to 3 weeks, probably want to say 3 weeks ago, it was brought to my attention. A friend of mine reached out to me to let me know that, did you hear the reports that the trust that the city was taking control of the board or taking it back from the trust? And when she initially sent it to me, I just ignored it because I was like, come on, like I just couldn't even believe it. Like I just kind of ignored it until I saw chatter popping up on Facebook and more people talking about the situation, until it became a matter that I had to investigate myself. Earlier this year, just to add a little bit more context to the story, my backstory. Earlier this year, we were actually planning the event. Me and my partner Jeff was planning the event that was set to take place at Virginia Key Beach. We had to push the date back because unfortunately my partner Jeff passed away in the middle of us planning and organizing this event, and it kind of threw a monkey wrench in our plans. But that's just to say that we were heavily, this year alone, I probably have made more than 30 trips to Virginia Key Beach, just back and forth, planning, promo, doing marketing, collecting marketing. And I want to personally, before we start the interview, congratulate you on the pristine, just the feel out there, man, from the Tiki Hut Village to the restore, the coastline, the beach line that we have there, to just it's just a different feel. It's definitely a different feel than 20 years ago when I was a young kid and we used to go out there for our family barbecues and gatherings. So definitely it's a beautiful place, and it's a staple in our history, our culture here in Miami. So speaking on that, I just want to open up the floor to you to kind of explain, or just put in the context. Like, I guess my first question would be, well, go ahead, you can introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate, first of all, the opportunity to be here and to be on your platform and have an opportunity to speak, man, because this is really just about informing the community and making folks aware of what's happening in the community.
Big facts.
And I appreciate you all, and kudos to you, man, for what you all have done in establishing this platform and getting it to the heights that it has, because you've developed a following, man, and you have folks that look to you for information about what's going on.
Big fact.
And, so for me to have the opportunity to be here is a blessing, and it's a pleasure, and I just encourage you all to continue to do what you're doing, man, because the young folks, man, for the most part, aren't involved. And, if there aren't folks like you that are getting the message out to them in a way that they are able to hear it,
right,
then we won't have a clue what's going on in our community, and we will lose whatever that we have worked to gain, and we won't have anything.
Exactly.
So I just want to say, first of all, man, kudos to you, and
thank you.
Please keep doing what you're doing.
Definitely.
For the community. That's what it's all about. And that's why I'm here doing what I'm doing, because it's about the community. It's not about me. It's not about this trust. It's not about the city commission. It's about this community and what this community has asked for us to bring forward.
Okay.
As a part of this park and this beach, and that's what we are about as trustees. And just to give you a little bit of background, so and I know you all have talked about it in the past, so I won't go into the fact of us being the only beach that blacks could go to. You all know that story. You articulated that well.
Right.
But what hasn't been said is that this trust was established back in 2000 to be stewards over this land and to give the community a voice and a say in what happens out at this park, this beach, which is ours and has been in our community, has been a part of our legacy, a part of our history, since 1945 when it opened.
Okay.
And so we want folks to understand that this trust was about the community having a voice.
Okay.
The trustees, including myself, have now been replaced by the City of Miami Commission. And so the City of Miami Commission now sits as the trustees, which says that the community's voice has now been taken away.
Pretty much.
And that's what we're dealing with here, and that's what we want your listeners to understand, and what we have to ward against happening, in our community is people will come and take stuff from us, and do it in the cover of night, and you won't know it until it's gone.
I think that was one of my questions that I wanted to get to, which was if the city commissioners could come in and do that with the beach park, what does that mean for the fate of other historical black landmarks in the city of Miami that we have fought for? Does that mean at any given time in the future we want to turn the Hampton House into a Latin restaurant? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Is that a possibility at this point? I mean, so my first question to you was, and we're going to get to that. Like I said, we're going to get back to that. My first question was, and you answered that, but it was when and why, would you answer that? When and why would the trust to get the community a voice so that the community would have a voice in the say-so of the property? So we got to that. Okay, how does the Virginia Key Beach Trust, or how did it operate? How does it operate?
Okay. So the trust is a board of volunteers.
Okay.
I don't get paid for what goes on out there at Virginia Key. I don't get paid for my role as being the chair of the trust. Okay?
I think that was my misunderstanding as well. I thought that was like a paid role or something.
No.
So the fact that now that I know that you're volunteering your time for this, it adds to the sentiment that I know that you got behind it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now it make a little bit more sense to me. Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry about that.
And just so your listeners will have an understanding, the only reason I got involved in this was because my grandmother was the founding chairperson of the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust. Her name was M. Athley Range. She was the first black city commissioner here in the city of Miami.
Right, definitely.
And she worked her whole life working for the community.
Right.
And before she passed, this was one of the last projects that she got involved with. Long story short, and I think you mentioned this to your listeners, a developer came forward back in the early 80s and he wanted to build a private resort on Virginia Key Beach Park.
Right.
And the community got together and said, no, we're not.
Wouldn't that be similar to what ended up happening? And I don't want to go too far back, but in the situation with Fisher Island, where it was owned by D.A. Dorsey at one point, and then they kind of muscled them out of there, put some tax liens or something on them, or some weird shit like, excuse my friends, this hood media right here, but they put some weird stuff on them and kind of swindled the land from them, and it ended up kind of becoming like a resort almost for the well-to-do or the elites of society and shit like that.
I mean, to some degree, you're correct. D.A. Dorsey was, the owner of Fisher Island at one time. He did sell it. I don't know the whole story that as to whether he really desired to sell it. The way I understand it is that to some degree he kind of was pushed to sell it, but. Anyhow, that was a little bit of a different scenario.
Okay.
In that, this land was his land was his.
His land
was in private hands before he sold it.
Right.
This land has been controlled by the county from the early days and was then transferred to the city. So in recent times, certainly in our lifetimes, this property has never been in private hands. It's always been in public hands. And so either the county or the city has been the entity that's had control or say so over what happens there. And so even when we were using it as a park back in segregation days, it wasn't, there wasn't a private citizen that owned the land. It was the Miami-Dade County's land, or at that time Dade County, owned the land and allowed us to use it as a place of recreation.
Okay.
So eventually it got transferred to the city of Miami, and then this is when this developer proposed this idea of building a resort there, and the community said absolutely not. This is a part of our history. This is a part of our legacy, and we need to preserve this, for our children and grandchildren to know, the history of Black Miami.
Right.
And so citizens worked very hard, to force the city to do something to preserve this park. And a commissioner at the time, he's been known around for a while. He's passed away now, unfortunately. Arthur Teal was central to the creation of this trust. And he saw to it that the trust was funded. The trust had monies to utilize to help with the operation and the restoration of the park. And so that's the history of how we got to be here as trustees. But the trustees are appointed by the city commission. The trustees are all volunteers, as I've said. None of us are paid. And we were appointed by members of the city commission and the mayor of the city of Miami. And so that's how we got to be where we were as trustees. And again, I wasn't always a trustee. I came in after my grandmother passed, and we only have maybe one or two of our trustees that were there from the very beginning.
Okay. And could you, is that Gene, Mr. Tenney,
Gene Tenney, and Mr. Dick Townsend.
Mr. Dick Townsend.
Those folks have been there from the very beginning, fighting to save this park and to keep it open to the public so that we could go and enjoy it. Okay.
My question, feeding off of what you just said, my question to you would be, do you feel that it's important to operate the trust in alignment with the vision and the core values set by the original founding members?
Well, it's funny that you say that. The short answer to that is yes.
Okay.
But the original founding members were really the community. Okay. It was the community that came together and said that we want to save this park.
Okay.
And then there was a charrette conducted, which included community members. And the community members got together.
What's the charrette?
Okay.
Slow me to bring back.
Yeah, let me help you. So a charrette is a public process. Okay. Where people can gather. It's essentially a meeting. Okay. And it's the purpose of the meeting is for people to come together and brainstorm or talk about and decide what it is that they want to go on a piece of property. Okay. So to set up planning and determinations for the use of the land, right? So that's what happened, because a developer came forward and said they wanted to build a private resort. The community said no, and so then the person said, well, what do we want to see here? And so that's when this meeting was held, called the charrette, which gathered everybody together and gave people an opportunity to say, well, we think this should be here at the park. We think that should be here at the park. No, we don't think this should be here.
And the original charrette took place?
That was back in roughly about 2004, 2005.
Okay.
And what came out of that charrette process was a master plan, okay? And so the master plan was basically the conclusion of the charrette. Whatever decisions were made or whatever thoughts came out of that charrette process in terms of what should go on, that eventually was presented to the city commission, and they adopted that master plan. So they adopted those things that were talked about at the charrette, so that there was a formal plan in place to say A, B, C, and D should go on and should be developed at this park.
Okay.
And so that master plan is what we have been working off of as our mission. So the master plan represented the mission of the trust, what the trust's duties were as far as development of this land. Okay. So that master plan is still available and is public record. So anybody can go in and look at it and see what it says.
Yeah, we need to definitely pull that record. We need to pull that record. We need to be privy to those records. Those are very pivotal in the future of what,
because to your point, that's the document within which the community spoke.
Okay,
and said what they wanted. So our concern now is that there's an attempt to maybe move away from this master plan, or if not to move away from the master plan, then to direct the dollars that have already been dedicated to the development of the museum
somewhere else,
somewhere that they want them to go, and not necessarily where we might have them go.
So look, I want to get into all of that. I got at least 7 more dope questions we want to get into. I want to spin a record right quick just so we can reset the cameras or whatnot, and then we'll come right back and we'll have more from Mr. Patrick Range, and let's get it for sure.
Hey, you already know. Next we're gonna play Trust Pluto. Interview coming soon.
I love you.
And we back, baby.
We
Let's
are
go.
back. We are
Patrick,
back.
Olympic.
We have. I don't know. I feel weird even saying that. Former chairman of the trust. Right.
Feels weird to hear it.
Right, at this point, right, at this current time, but we devising efforts of changing that. You know what I'm saying? And even if I'm pretty sure in your heart of hearts, even if you're not the chairman or if it's not the same board, as long as there were individuals on this board that had the best interest in the park and in the community, I feel like you don't even, you be cool with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Me, I personally feel like that.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it's definitely not about me, bro. It's not about me. It's about the mission. And if we can get the mission done, then I'm good.
Big facts. Okay. Question feeding off of what we were just speaking on before we went on break. What was the climate of the board's relationship with the city's commissioners prior to the first budget meeting, which I believe was on the 13th of September this year? Just put it on silent for me, G. Meeting of the year. Was there any indication? What was the relationship like, and was there any indication that this was a possibility of happening?
There was no indication
Prior to that?
Yeah, and our relationship with the commission has been tenuous. As your listeners may know, as I'm sure you know, commissioners don't sit forever. We have elections. Typically, every 4 years, the city commission seats are up for re-election.
Right.
Okay, and so obviously the trust has been around since 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So we've sat through several different commissioners sitting, for each of the different districts in the city. Because again, roughly about every 4 years, commission district is going to come up for re-election. And so you may get the same commissioner to be re-elected. You may get a different commissioner elected. And so obviously if you get a new commissioner coming in, then they're going to have different priorities, different things that they want to see, different agenda than maybe the previous commissioner, right? And that's maybe why the previous commissioner didn't win. Maybe the community was saying, hey, well, we want some other things and we're not happy with your performance, so, we want to elect somebody else to the seat.
Right.
And so that's the community's prerogative. And so what that has meant for the trust is that, we have to be able to work with different administrations. So people that may have different priorities from ours or that may not see things the way that we see them, we still charge to work, with whoever's in office.
Right.
And so, we actually have commissioners that had been elected that never made appointments to the trust. So we actually have vacant seats because certain commissioners didn't either take enough interest or have enough concern about what was going on there to even make an appointment to the trust.
Now that's
they would know
like,
what was going on.
People really like taking the context of what he's saying right now. They had opportunities, or not even opportunities, obligations to appoint someone to the board, and it was like the black. I'm putting it. I'm not. This is not his words. I'm putting it in my words.
You saying it right?
The Black Beach. Fuck them. You feel me? We'll figure it out when we figure it out.
Right.
And now maybe someone came out with a bright idea. Maybe there's some contractors. Maybe who knows? I'm going off of what my own.
Now you talking.
I'm speaking off of Olympic. What Olympic has experienced the last 20, 30 years of Miami and living just around my environment. And now someone has some invested interest in what's going on around there. And it's just like such an abrupt move, such a brash move to like rip the trust up, and I don't get it. And you had an opportunity for years to appoint somebody, and it was vacancy. Y'all should have called me up. I would have took a seat on the chair, you know what I'm saying, on the board. But that's interesting that to even bring that up, man. People pay attention to that. You feel me? You got to pay attention to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And now all of a sudden, there's all this interest in what we're doing.
Yeah, that's those
They
anti.
gotta come and take it over.
Right. So that leads me to my next concern. It ain't even a question, and like I say, these are my personal.
Weird.
That's kind of weird, ain't it?
Especially at the end of the year, coming up to a new year, there's something
Very.
going on.
Very.
That's that definitely. One of my concerns is, and I'm just gonna throw that out there, since we're on the topic, is that it may be some individuals that end up on the trust that don't think like us, don't come from similar backgrounds as us, don't got the same plight as us. It may be some people that end up on the trust that look like us, but we know they ain't for us.
As well.
You know what I'm saying? I've got my own question. So, moving into that, just moving along, right? Okay. I got a lot of questions here. Give me a second. Let me just. Okay. Well, okay. So, should the trust somehow regain control of the board? Or the board, or get back on the board, the current board. What are some things that you consider doing differently moving forward? If there's anything, because me asking that question is because there's nothing wrong with, to me, how the park's being run right now. It's in pristine. The ecosystem. I go snorkeling out there. The ecosystem is intact. Wildlife some of the most prettiest designs of stingrays and whatever you're looking for out there. You know what I'm saying? So is to say that I read the article. And I forget who it was. There was a city-appointed auditor or someone who said that they found no reasons of mismanagement of funds or anything of the park. So me asking you that is kind of like is a hard question. Like, what would you have done different? But I'm pretty sure you may have some things you want to say in regards to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think first of all, again, we were a trust of volunteers. We came together because we had a passion for the park. We were appointed because we had a passion for the park, and we wanted to help to see to it that the community's vision gets carried out, right? And so in trying to do that, we have come up with all sorts of obstacles over the years. And it became clear that we need what's called political will to get this done. That means that you have people that are in authority politically that are on your side and that are putting the energy forward to make whatever it is happen. That's called political will. So, in other words, just as an example, if you've got a project, if you want to
let's get specific.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the $15 million that were allocated. The budget was for I'm pretty sure multiple things, but I think the focal point in a lot of the articles was the museum.
Okay,
the museum.
So let me separate.
Let's talk about
things.
that, right? Because I wonder. I'm sorry, I might be throwing a lot at you. My bad.
No.
This is my wheel spinning right now. Try to compartmentalize what separate what I'm saying right now. Okay, so boom. Off of that, could you explain to us the difficult how easy is it to access these funds once they're allocated for a project, or they say that we got this money for? How easy is it to actually get to these funds to do what y'all wanted to have done with it? Talk to me.
Okay, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna come back to the audit piece. Right?
All right, let's do that.
Okay, so in 2004, the trust was awarded $15.5 million of general obligation bond (GOB) money from Miami-Dade County. Okay, that was allocated. The GOB was bonds that were raised by the county, that were voted on by the voters. The voters said, hey, there are a number of projects here in the county that need to get done. and we agree that the county should raise bonds in order to help to get these projects done. And so that's what the county did. And so out of the monies the bond monies that were raised, $15.5 million were allocated towards Virginia Key for the building of a museum dedicated to Black history. Okay,
Damn.
and so
Let's go.
that money has been sitting there with the county, waiting for the city to access it.
And
I
this
say
is
the city,
this is since 2000 and what?
2004 that the bond monies were allocated. Right.
Wow.
I was in the 7th grade, 8th grade in 2004.
Well,
It's
I'm
been
about
going-
to have a whole lifetime in this museum not getting built.
And that's the question. That's the question. What you'll be hearing now from from certain commissioners is, oh, well, they haven't done anything in 18 years. And I come right back to it and I say, all you got to do is just think about that statement for a minute and think about who we are as the trust and how we operate. So we started out telling you we're trusted volunteers, right? We're appointed by city commissioners, right? We are only an arm or an instrumentality of the city, meaning that the city of Miami has oversight over us. The city commissioners have oversight. So if we decide to do something like build a museum a certain type of way, and we go to access these monies from the county's gonna look at us like you're crazy. Who are you? You not the city. We deal with the city
I
of
believe
Miami.
that's what needs to be different when y'all are appointed back is they separate and protect what y'all are supposed to be. So that stuff like commissioners changes, people getting changed, don't change what y'all were put in place to do.
Right, but they have effectively done that now.
Yeah.
And
Right.
again, that's a result of them, wanting to do it their way. Either other folks not agreeing with what we were trying to do as far as the museum, which again is what the community's vision is. The only thing that we have put forward is what the community said they wanted to see there. So along the way, if somebody that's in authority, like a commissioner, decides, well, I don't really like that, well, I just won't engage with them.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about political will a minute ago. It takes a commissioner to say, yes, I want this to happen, and let me see how I can help. And that's what we have not had at any point.
Right.
Any commissioner really coming forward and saying, how can I help? What are the issues here?
Right.
What we had in this instance was a commissioner coming forward and saying, well, I don't think y'all been doing nothing. I don't really like what y'all doing, and I think I can do it better. So
And we sure the
I'm
money
not going to help you.
still
I'm going to just take you out, and I'm going to do it myself.
Right, and I don't think, and I think that leads into one of my other questions. Is there division amongst Black leadership in Miami? Because I'm not understanding with a project so delicate and sensitive to the community, and I'm not sure where, Commissioner Christine King was raised or where she's from. I don't want to get into the specifics of all of that, but if you're from the community, Miami, and I'm assuming she might be, and I don't want to make reference to age, and I know how women get about that, but if you're in that, that generation, this should be some type of a different level of concern, or willingness to work with people who are working with the cause. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just a hard move. Like, to me, in the streets, when somebody make a hard move like that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, okay, hold up. You know what I'm saying? I don't.
And honestly, that's what we said. When she brought this idea of, changing the composition of the trust, it was like, wait, what's up? Like, why do you want to do this?
Right.
What is this going to accomplish for you? Like, because again, this board of trustees.
What is this going to accomplish for you?
Yeah, this board of volunteers. This is our passion. Like,
right.
We want this to happen. So if you telling us you're gonna make it happen, absolutely, we want to bring you in the fold and have you help to make it happen.
Right.
But for you to just eliminate the community's voice and say, well, I'm gonna do what I want to do, that is not gonna fly. That's not how we got here.
Right.
We got here because of the community having a say so.
How do you feel? Why do you feel like? And I'm sure it's not just her, but her name's at the forefront of a lot of the headlines. So we're gonna, and I feel like she's leading the charge. That's just my opinion. Why do you feel like oh man, I just lost my train of fucking. What was the last thing you just said? Could you bring me back real quick? I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, basically that they have taken our voice, and that the community. This was set up to give the community input.
Right.
And taking this over, saying I'm gonna do it the way I want to do it, goes against what the community has said.
Why do you feel like I got my question now? Why do you feel like she felt like that this was the opportune time and moment? Because to be honest with you, it came out of the blue. I feel like I'm in the know of a lot of things going on around me, and I didn't know about that. I got friends of mine that's even more in the know, activist community in the community, and it came to a surprise as a surprise to them as well. Do you feel like the community is in a vulnerable state right now where we're sheltering ourselves from issues that are bigger than Miami Northwestern versus Miami Central football on Friday?
Yeah, well that's why, and that's why it's really important what you all are doing in getting information out to the community, because so much happens in our community that we don't even know about, especially politically.
Right. And we're not attending
things happen.
Niggas,
we find out about it after the fact.
After the fact.
Oh, what happened?
When we supposed to have been sitting in the meetings, like even right now, I'm pissed off that I feel like I'm playing catch up. Like I done missed the first 2 meetings or 3 meetings. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. We're not doing. Myself included. I was just invited out to a city meeting that's supposed to be taking place on the 10th. Concerning arts and entertainment budget or something like that. I'm very glad and excited for the invite, and I'm definitely going to be there. I'm going to be in attendance because more than just that, arts and entertainment, we need to be, the generation, the millennials, the Gen Zers, y'all even more than us. Y'all don't even understand how much power y'all hold and how much weight your voice hold out here in the world when you use it for the right things and not insulting each other and tearing each other down. When we come together, so you're right. This is what a platform like ours is for, to raise awareness.
You all and your listeners are the leaders. The next
generation of leaders
in this community.
Right.
and you all have to be armed and equipped with the information that you need to be able to lead your people. Because otherwise, we'll be lost. And we've had generations that have been lost, and not been what they've supposed to be, and a lot of that is a result of why is a reason why we are where we are today. But it's up to you all, to encourage folks to be active,
right.
To not be passive in their community. You got to get out, go to the meetings, know what's going on.
Right.
Read the newspaper, vote.
Okay, I had a vote, definitely. I had someone submit a question that they wanted me to ask you. I almost skipped over it. I want to.
Please.
The question was, what has the trust been doing for the last 18 years? Could you lay out the scope of what has been taking place?
Absolutely.
At the property? Talk to me.
Absolutely. So let's just.
And I know it's hard to condense 18 years into 2 minutes or a minute,
but because there's been kind of different phases, so
okay.
It's not that hard to do.
Talk to me.
And it's important because the narrative out there is we haven't been doing nothing.
So, right, that's the narrative, right?
Right. So the trust was established in 2000. Obviously, it took a year or so to seat the actual trust members for the commission to make their selections who would be on the trust, come up with the ordinance, which are the rules regarding how the trust operates,
right.
Bylaws for the trust, just like any other organization or company that you would start. So those things had to get put in place first. As those things were getting put into place, we began to talk about, again, from the charrette and the master plan, what would go on there.
Right.
Now, remember, the trust was started in 2000. The master plan was adopted in 2006. So those first 6 years were like planning and understanding what the community wanted to see there, what made sense to go there, and those sorts of things, okay? In 2004, so before the master plan was passed, we got the GOB dollars approved, the $15.5 million, right? And so those first 4 years were, working towards securing the money and understanding what would go on the property, understanding the best use for the property. So that was basically up through 2006. Unfortunately, that just so happens to be the year that my grandmother passed. She was the founding chair of the trust. And so, obviously, with her not being there, a new chairperson came in and began to operate the trust. So the mission of the trust at that point was to complete the first phase of the master plan, which was to reopen the park itself.
Okay.
And so there was a whole lot that had to go into reopening the park. You're talking about a plot of land, an 82-acre piece of land. If you know how big an acre is,
sitting really like
been sitting,
overgrown,
nobody's been
brush.
doing anything to it. The only thing that's been done out there since '82 was to have some splashdown events.
Couple splashdowns
on the lawn. You know, everything else that was around there had not been dealt with or taken care of at all. The beach, the other areas around in the park. So the next period was worked on to reopen the park to the public. So that took a whole lot. We used a lot of grant monies, a lot of in-kind services to do the things that would be necessary to get the park and the beach open to be suitable for people from the public to come out. So that included things like taking out all of the exotic species of plants that had grown over there. Obviously, you had all kinds of stuff that would be overgrown, right? Because you don't have regular lawn maintenance.
Right.
So part of it was taking out all the stuff that shouldn't be there, all the plant life and stuff that shouldn't be there, and putting in native plant species. You know, things that grow here and that thrive here and that are supposed to be here. So that was a whole effort which continues because we continue to do plantings and removal of exotic species as we go along. But at the beginning, obviously, there was so much there. We had to coordinate a whole bunch of volunteers, and fortunately, we had great groups come out to help us. Folks like Tremendous and other groups came out and donated their time to take out these exotic species
because it looked beautiful,
and to plant. So if you go out there now and you see all those trees and plants and things, those are native species that are native to Miami. You know, and those are the type of things that you want to see and that should be in the park. Not only that, but we went about restoring all of the man-made features that were there when we used to go back in segregation days. So reopening the dance pavilion where people could go and have a party. Redoing the carousel, the mini train, things that people enjoyed when they used to come out back in the day.
Wasn't there a cultural arts center out there, or what was it? Well, not a cultural arts center. It was a.
They had a
performance arts center.
No. They had they used to do a lot of weddings out there and a lot of baptisms. So there was no performing arts. There wasn't no such a thing like that. You know, again, this was a space that we could go to recreate, right? So not only did we go out for parties and holidays and things like that, but a lot of the churches used that space too. Hundreds and hundreds of people got baptized out there back in the day.
I believe it.
And so those were the type of uses and things that were going on out there. And so you would have events and things like that, but nothing like, you know, a performing arts center where you go and see a play or a show, that sort of thing. You know, you might have some entertainment out there, whatever. We certainly had, we had a concession stand, and so they used to serve, you know, certain types of foods out there that people got to know very well, like corn dogs and knee-high sodas. Y'all don't even know about those sorts of things.
I heard my mama told me about the knee-high.
Yeah, ask around about the knee-high soda.
Knee-high is good.
Yes,
talk
indeed.
about it still be in the corner store.
Yeah, you guys are real hard to find now. You got to go in the right store. But these are the things that we had out there, you know, in segregation days, and we brought back so that people would have that nostalgia and feel that connection. And also be able to share that with their children and grandchildren and others who come out and understand what this place was all about.
So could I ask this, right, transition? Do you think that the trust may have missed the mark with connecting to the next generation? Because I feel like everything that you said is wonderful and it resonates with people from my mother's era that were born in 1954 that actually got to grow up in the park and I get to come back and see, oh, that's a train. But what about, you know, the youth? What about the next generation? Do you feel like it was, because I go out there this year, I've been going out there since I was a little boy. That's the only, we really never did, like, I'm black and Hispanic, so the black side of the family, we went to Virginia Key. On my Hispanic side, we went to Hollover, you know what I'm saying? And they even, for the most part. But over the course of the years, when I go out there in my adult years, I don't see much of us, or much of the people that from the community that the beach was originally purposed for out there enjoying the luxuries of the beach. I see the Hispanics out there fishing and swimming, doing the family barbecues and really doing more and taking more advantage of the property than we are. Do you feel like there was a failure in connecting with the next generation or the new generation of Miamians?
Connecting, but promoting.
Not so much. I think there are a couple factors. I mean, I think that certainly there's probably there's always more marketing and stuff that you can do, sort of situation. But there's a physical reality of where the beach is located too, and I mean that was even an issue back in the day. it was a challenge for folks to get out to the location where Virginia Key is. Actually, back when they first opened the park, you couldn't even get there by land. There was no Rickenbacker Causeway.
Yeah, I know that bridge.
So you had to take a boat.
You had to take a boat
to get over there.
Ferry or something.
Right?
My friend, yeah.
And so, so obviously when segregation ended, and we could start going to South Beach and Harlover and that sort of thing, those places were more accessible to us than Virginia Key. And that remains to an extent today. And it's kind of a shame.
And even though they did build the bridge, SunPass.
But at the same time, we still do have lots of us that go out and recreate there and hold events and sorts of things. And we do get youth to go out for different summer camps and that sort of thing. But it's up to us. We have to know that that's our space. And just like we go anywhere else that we want to go to enjoy it, we got to know, hey, that this is there for us to enjoy too. And so, yeah, we can go to Harlover and enjoy it, but we also got another place that we can go and enjoy. And if we don't talk about it, if we don't frequent it, we'll forget about it. Because the folks that don't look like us use it. That's because they live right around it.
They live right
and so, they ride their bike there. They,
work out over there.
I'm I don't know the term, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second. I feel, right, personally, if there were a little bit more attractions and this is the catch-22. Just got to speak the truth. My generation and even the generation before us, we talking about the John Doe era in the early 90s. It was crazy. The Uncle Al era, there was some wild boys. There was some wild stuff going on.
That was my time.
That was your era. That was your era. You know what's going on. You know more than...
I grew up with all those cats.
So I feel like one of the biggest issues is, and I was going to say why, should there have been more efforts of developing attractions that would bring, Black Miami out, young Black Miami out. But when you do that, then you met with other challenges where we can't commune together. We can't come together for anything almost. And I don't want to throw this narrative out there, but we got to get better at it. If we on the topic and we talking about doing better around the board and what's best for community, we going to throw that out there. We got to learn how to be able to come together without a fight popping off or a brawl or a shootout or a life being lost or this or that. You know what I'm saying? Because I could sit here and say, why wasn't more community? And then it's like, damn, you get 400 young rowdy, and it's just crazy narrative. But go ahead.
The other thing too to realize too is that we're not really an event space. We really are. We really are a park.
Okay.
And so you got to look at us in that light. So I hear you talking about attractions and things like that.
Well, it's just a park.
And we've had to do stuff that we've had to do. Just
but like the concession stand, I go there on the regular, it's not open, and it could be budgeting, funding,
there's
maybe
a reason for that.
Right. But I was just alerted by the cameraman that we got to reset real quick. So hold that thought, please. Stay on that thought. We're gonna run this record, and then we'll come back in. And I appreciate you all the time that you're giving us. And yeah, definitely, let's get into it. Bless.
Reach, you feel me, and a focus about cool people. You already know. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, Rock the Block Radio. One word, if you did not catch this interview live, make sure you're following us, Rock the Block Show, on all social media networking sites. You feel me? Get informed.
Definitely. Any platforms, other platforms that you like to shout out right now where people can go and get information from or get informed about what's going on with the issue?
One thing certainly for your listeners, blackmdc.org is an equitable economic empowerment platform, and it's something that the trust, that is a group that has been supportive of the trust, in our efforts to try to win control back of the of the trust. And so you'll find a lot of helpful information there. You'll also find information about, things that are upcoming as far as what we are planning. And since we've mentioned that, let me just say to your listeners now that, we need you to come out. We need you to support, what's going on here. There's going to be a city commission meeting on November the 17th, which is a Thursday. We're asking folks to come out at 8:30. The meeting begins at 9. We're supposed to have an opportunity to have discussion about what's going on there, which is something that we haven't gotten thus far. When the vote was taken to replace us, there was no discussion. There was all kind of public comment on the record, questions asked, why are you doing this, what are the reasons, all this sorts of stuff. Questions that never got answered. So this is an opportunity for us to get some answers, to get some better insight into what's going on, and to find out why they've done what they've done, and to let them know that this is not okay.
All right.
And so we
I
want
need to have my
listeners
speech
to come
prepared
out.
now. Definitely, go ahead, Sav. Look like you want to say something.
I was just gonna say, I don't see how something that was appointed for the people just getting thrown to the side without any other, like you said, the people questions, like that's crazy.
And that's the overall thing here that we're talking about, folks, is that the community's voice has been taken
Being
away.
ripped away from us.
It's been taken away, and we can't allow that.
Yeah, like I say, I don't know what at least amongst I haven't felt the concern from the people, at least in my generation. You know what I'm saying? I saw at the last meeting there seemed to be a decent showing of community people from the community that came out, but we definitely need more. We need that place disgustingly packed to the point where it's just like, whoa, they don't know if we about to storm the Capitol or not in there. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. So I'm as I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm thinking of ways to incentivize our viewers, our listeners, our supporters to come out, whether it's free promotion on air for their business or their song or whoever artist, everybody that's a friend or a fan of our show, we're gonna actually shut down the show that day. We're projected to be on air that Thursday, but then we're gonna shut down the show. I assume that I still be in town. I'm praying. I'm trying not to take this quick job offer out of town, but if I'm here, I'm definitely gonna be there. I think I'm gonna be here. I feel like I'm just gonna be here. Come out, stand in support with us, and let's make it a thing. We're gonna have fun. We'll turn up. We'll take a couple shots or do what we do before we pull up or whatnot. I need my mob with me that day. Y'all know how we do. You know, we might pull up in a party bus to City Hall. Ain't no telling, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what we trying to do. So definitely, I don't even know if you can remember where we left off at before we had to take that break. If not, we could transition into that off-air conversation that we're having. I don't know if you want to put that out there, but my question for you right now is, where are we at in this process, and what do we need to be doing right now? What do we need to be doing right now? Right.
So again, the trustees have been at this point removed. I am no longer the chairperson of the trust. Mm-hmm. The volunteers that were sitting on the trust are no longer trustees. The trustees of the Virginia Key Beach Park Trust are now the city commissioners. Okay, and so again, we want to say that this is wrong. And we've been saying this is wrong, but we need the strength in numbers of the community saying that this is wrong in order to change it.
My personal opinion, if you're not black, you ain't even qualified to sit on the board. I don't care what commissioner, who voted you in. We'll vote you out. Just know that. That's coming from me. Continue on.
And that's what it's going to take. It's like I was saying, and that's why I appreciate your platform. Folks in your generation, in my generation, they got to understand the importance of being active and making your voice heard. You might feel that it's not important. You might feel that you just one person. You can't affect change by yourself, but you can. It starts with you. It starts with you, and nothing, happens on its own. Nothing happens on its own. So it's going to take, your commitment. And when somebody sees you commit to being there, that might help them commit to being there. And that might help the next person commit to being there.
Right.
But that's what it takes. That's what it takes. Just like going to a concert. You got somebody you want to go see. Oh, man, this cat here, this rapper, this artist is the real deal. He's spitting the real spill, right? So I got to go see him. Man, we got to feel that this sort of thing has that level of importance. Man, I got to go see about this park. Because if it's not here, what are my grandchildren and great-grandchildren going to know about the history of Black Miami?
Man, they going to name that shit Carlos Rodriguez Park of Miami or something like that, and niggas going to be even more sick to their stomach if they not. You should be disgusted, Black Miami. I'm sorry, that's coming from me. You feel me? But go ahead.
Sorry. And I know y'all talking, and I know y'all are worried, not even worried, but the attractions, things being out there. If y'all want stuff to be out there like it's on South Beach, like the boardwalks and all over and everywhere else, we have to go out there. If you visit any other beach once a month, once every 2 weeks, you gotta go out to Black Beach, put it on your story. You got to. Keep it inform people about it, cause it can really be something for us that's just as special as us but a whole 80 acres?
82 acres.
82 acres of
man.
us.
Yeah,
You feel
and-
me?
and-
It's supposed to be things informing us about what's here, artifacts, you know.
And I'll just say, just from my time brief time dealing with the trust, and like I said, the event didn't even come into fruition. After this interview, it may never come into fruition. City of Miami, listen. But anyways, with that being said, it never came into fruition. But I did have an opportunity to meet with Miss Swaby, Michelle Swaby, a beautiful, awesome person, and just her willingness. Answering every call, responding to every text, making sure that my application was submitted right, the insurance, everything was down to the T. Just working with us diligently, a young male, black male from the community. You know what I'm saying? Giving us an opportunity. It was a light of hope. It gave me the feeling that I could throw my own, that we could put on our own Rolling Loud or our own, Ultra Fest out there or whatnot. And the idea that some of these luxuries or some of these opportunities may be taken away from us, and it may become a little bit more difficult for something like that to take place, should be a concern to anybody in the community. You know what I'm saying? It could be your next event, or it could be your child's 16th birthday party that you try and host at a pavilion out there. You know what I'm saying? So we all need to be informed. Involved and informed. Mr. Rain, I don't want to hold you up here too long, man. If there's anything else that you want to say, we don't have to close the interview out. We can continue talking, but I kind of want to leave space for a follow-up interview leading into the next weeks to come. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And have you back up here for sure, and just to keep the people informed, because this is an ongoing thing. This is not just one episode on the Rock the Block show on NBC. Weekly at this point, because we have crunch time. You know what I'm saying? But definitely. So November 17th is the day. Please save the date, November 17th. I don't care what you're doing. You going to Thick Thursdays that night, make sure you at the City Hall council meeting, because this is about us, bro. Let's start showing these people how much power, how much concern and care we really got about each other, about our people. Just like them folk gonna get together and say that you anti-Semitic and all that. No, you anti-negretic. That's my new term. You anti-negretic. If you're making any type of anti-negretic gestures or approaches on my people, we're not standing for it. And we're not standing for it amongst each other. It got to start with each other. I can't be quick to pull a gun on my brother and try to crucify, somebody from another culture or race for handling me some type of way. It starts within our community and at home. People, that's the message tonight. Hit me up in my inbox. Let's talk about it. I'm going to work diligently. If you have a party bus out there that you want to donate to us, to the cause. I know it's some black promoter out there, and you ain't got to be black. You want to support the cause, hit us up. Hit us up on our DMs, Rock the Block Show on IG, rocktheblockradio@gmail.com. Let's get that together. November 17th, I need a party bus. We try and pack it up. We're going to put liquor, whatever we doing, and we're going to pull up to just like they pulled up to the Capitol. But less aggression, with less aggression. But definitely, Sav, you got anything you want to say over there?
Shout out to the people that's working for the community of Miami, down here in South Florida. There are AIDS and not blockades, because I needed to stop.
Big facts. Mr. Range, take us out, man. Got anything you want to say?
I just want to thank you all again. Thank you, listeners, for listening. And just know this is your community.
Right.
This is about our community and preserving what's ours.
Right.
We can't go down on 8th Street and build something and decide what's going to go on over there.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
Think about it.
You got to really think of, that shit. Oh my God. I hope they hear me out there, bro. It's bigger than the West versus Jackson, the West versus Central, and what happened on VH1 the other day. Is real life stuff going on that we got way more control and power. I hate when people give credence to that. Oh man, ain't no, my vote don't count. Your vote very much so count. Your voice counts too. Absolutely. I'm about to show y'all how powerful a voice can be. So definitely, man, we just want to stay on top of this. Keep me informed. You have my number. You're a friend of the show. You know what I'm saying? Any information, new information that develop, make sure that you keep us updated, because, man, these little sneaky tactics that's being pulled off and trying to keep it quiet out the media, we need as much exposure on it as possible.
Our monthly update, you always come out tell them what this week. What can we make new? Is it an event? Is it something to, you hear me?
As long as you all want to have me, I will make my presence. I will be here and, bring whatever information I can to the table. And, a lot of us have heard about civil rights and the civil rights struggle. This is only a continuation of that, and it's unfortunate that I got to say it like that and that's what it is, but there's still folks out here that don't want us to have anything. Right. And could care less about us. Right. And if we don't start caring about ourselves, if we don't start doing things to protect ourselves, we'll find ourselves at the bottom.
Facts. Nah, definitely. Definitely, man. Thank you for everyone that was in tune, that tuned in to the sounds of our voice tonight. We want to thank you for staying locked in with us, and definitely, man. Awesome show tonight. Be on the lookout for this content. Should be dropping within the next 2 days. We're gonna try to get that out as soon as possible. And definitely, man, we want to thank you for coming up here today, man. Keeping us informed with what's going on, man. The powers that be, they try to keep stuff under wraps and out of the public's view and ears, and we need to be in the know. We definitely need to be in the know. So thank you, Mr. Rain, for coming up here and clearing up a lot of those, just things that were up in the air that we might not have been privy to or taken out of context or whatnot. Definitely.
I appreciate it. I look forward to coming back. And November 17th, man, we're going to show up and show out.
For sure. November 17th, man. That's the date, man. Let's get it.
City Hall.
You're now tuned in to the Rock the Block Show.